Paul and Drums here at ChuckLevins.com. Wanted to highlight a product line that, while we've sold for many years here at Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center, has really caught on of late amongst not just jazz players, but a broad range of players from gospel to fusion to indie rock, and that is the Istanbul Agop line. I've also heard it pronounced Istanbul Agop. There have been many Turkish cymbal brands that have came and went, though Istanbul has stayed around a while, has solidified their series, and even has a more budget series called Exist. If you are interested in any of these, or any of the many other Istanbul products we carry, you can check us out at ChuckLevins.com.
That's it. It's a great microphone. It sounds amazing. It's hard to get pretty excited about a microphone release these days, but this is really a game changer. And in the world of microphones, to get something that sounds this good, that has this many features from a brand like Shure is remarkable. The SM7B certainly still has its place in the world. It is a legend. It is definitely not to be left behind. But for the world that we find ourselves in today, the MV7 is phenomenal. And coming in at only $249 when the SM7B is $399, this is an incredible value. It sounds great. It looks great. It has tons of features. And it also comes in two colors. So you get a little style picking out for you. Comes in silver, comes in black. Both are available right now. ChuckLevins.com. Time to get yours.
It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish I would. Watch out now. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Everybody watch out. Watch out now. I'm ready for a good time, and I came to groove. The whole band's here, and we came to move. Got a fresh haircut and 2 new shoes. We're here all night like we got nothing to lose. Coming out the jacket, cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get up out your seat. It's time to make it happen when we hit these streets. I'm coming in hot, and I can't be beat. Watch out now.
Hello, world. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another Chuck Levin's Live. I'm Adam Levin, and we got a super cool stream for you tonight. It's going to be a deep dive into the new module release from Modbap Modular, the Per4mer module. We have the godfather of Modbap with us tonight, Corry Banks. We have 2 great co-hosts that I will introduce in just a minute. And as usual, we have some super cool giveaways. First off, our friends at Hosa are helping to sponsor this podcast, this stream, and they are going to give away a modular accessory pack. So you're going to get some patch cables, you're going to get some knuckle bone molts, you're going to get one of their modular cable racks, so you can hold all your cables nice and neat and organized. Enter to win. It's super easy. Lots of ways to do it. Killer stuff. You can never have enough of any of these things in the world of modular. So enter. The guys will drop it in the comments below. Don't miss out on these things. We're also going to be giving away a couple extra bonus giveaways for some people on the stream. Our friend Corey is going to be giving away some Modbap t-shirts, and we'll throw in another Chuck Levin's t-shirt as well. So we're going to pick someone who tags a friend. So tag up those people in your modular community, your modular friends, tag them in, bring them into the stream. We're going to pick at random someone that tags a friend. And also, do not be shy. Ask questions. We have some major brains on this stream tonight. Guys that live for modular, that have been deep in this world for a good long while. And it's going to be a great time. We're going to go deep into this stuff. So don't be shy. Ask some questions. Whoever asks the best question tonight is also going to get some t-shirt. So lots going on, lots to do. I think I will first start by bringing in my 2 co-hosts tonight. So I have my friend Craig, also goes by Patchnode, who has been a great friend in the community and has been a modular enthusiast and now modular artist for quite some time. and has been exploring and observing the community for a good long while, and he has seen a lot cross by his path. And then our other guest is Ali, the architect, who is a local DC modular artist, has been around, has performed at our modular meetups that we had a couple of them last year, which was really super cool. So great dudes, both of them. Let's bring them into the stream. Let's let them. Hello.
Hello.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, Adam? How you doing today?
Great. I think first I'll let you guys kind of both just give a little intro to yourselves. I kind of set the stage a little bit, but might as well have both of you introduce yourselves a little bit better. So, Craig, why don't we start with you? Introduce yourself to the world. Welcome to Chuck Levin's Live.
Yeah, Adam, I think you covered it. I run the patch node repo site for modular artists. I have been for the past 2 years. I have my own page, Patch Node Music, where I post my own jams. Also been making demo videos for Chuck Levin, so that's been fun and glad to be here. Excited to learn more about the Per4mer module. So, giddy up!
It's gonna be super cool. And Ali, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
What's going on, guys? I'm Ali. I'm a modular artist. I make hip hop and all type of different music, and I've been going. I do live in the area where Chuck Levin's is. Been going there since I was a kid. So, it's always cool to be, support and be on the stream with you guys. Yeah, man. Just making music and just loving modular. Ready to see what this Per4mer does, and check it out through the creator's hands. So.
It's going to be super cool. I got a little taste of I've been a fan of Corry's for a while and yours for a while. And last year at NAMM, there was and I think you were there too, Ali, right? There was a modular performance session. I think maybe even Corry was he was on stage. I forget if he was emceeing it or not, but he was up there driving things, making things awesome, making things happen. Super cool time. Certainly gave me an education on what can really be done with the format and in a performance setting, and it was super, super, super cool. So I think without further ado, we will bring on the godfather of Modbap himself, Corry Banks, BBoyTechReport. Let's bring him in. Yo, Corry.
Hey, what's happening?
Welcome. How you doing?
Good, man. Good to be here.
Great to have you. This is awesome. Why don't you give us a little background on yourself, and tell everyone a little bit about Modbap as a genre. I mean, you kind of birthed the name and kind of the melding of these worlds. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this and Modbap in general.
Well, yeah. So I, at the core, I'm an MC, but over the years I've become more of a beat maker and gotten more into the gear. The whole thing about what I do, starting BBoyTechReport, beat people and all of that stuff, and it's all because when I would go online and look for reviews, I would never really hear my voice. So what I mean by that is, it would literally be everybody but a hip hop producer, you know what I mean, or beat maker. And typically, you almost wouldn't see anything unless the person had a cool London accent, English accent. So I started doing BBoyTechReport, reviewing stuff, and it was really all about, part of it is hey, while I'm going on this journey and learning stuff, and if people are going to ask me stuff, then I'll be able to kind of share things. I kind of created that platform. But ultimately, what ended up happening is, producing the way everyone else in hip hop produces. Well, not everyone else, because, you had a couple different sections or factions or whatever. So you had guys that would have, say, a Triton and an MPC. You had guys that would have a turntable and an MPC or machine or whatever the Groovebox was. And flipping samples, you kind of had to have your skill up on flipping samples and doing that stuff. But I was I always wanted to play things, you know what I mean? And as you can see from the sense behind me, I was always into playing things, because even though I got really good at flipping samples, there became a time when there's only so much you could play over that sample, because the sample dictates what you're doing. You know what I mean? So then I started getting more into less sampling and more playing stuff, and that led me down this entire road of like, yeah, but I missed the vibe and the feeling of all of that. And so I got really deep into how to capture certain textures and how to still use, you know, maybe creating soundscapes and modular and all that. Eventually I got into modular because of that sort of journey. And you know, I came up with the term Modbap, as modular boom bap. And, you know, at the time I was doing a lot of synth stuff, and I was even calling that synth bap. But when I started doing modular stuff, I started calling it Modbap, and the name stuck. And through that, I started, you know, realizing like, oh, my man Upright, my man Shiro, voltage controller, my man Ken, all of these people were already kind of blending modular synthesis with the way they produced their beats and stuff. And so the name stuck, and it kind of became just this snowball of things. And, you know, we met Ali, and, you know, Ali basically sold all other equipment, got into modular. And through, you know, the common thing is that we bond over modular and hip hop. And so Modbap just kind of encapsulates that whole thing.
Love it. And that's what I love about, I'm no musician by any stretch of it, but that's what I love about modular, is that we could have the same setup and we can sound completely different. It's you know, I tell a lot of people, you know, there's only so many sounds you can make with the Triton, or there's only so many sounds you can get out of, like, there's only so much creativity that you can have. You can certainly be creative, no doubt, but there's a limitation to it. And once you kind of dive into modular, it's like ripping open the hood of these things, and you can just, everyone can work the way their brain works and the way they just vibe through it and feel their way through this world of music. It's like exploring music from the ground up. It's a whole different experience.
Yeah, I think the way, you know, I usually put it is like, when you're working with like a synth or something like that, you have to follow the thought process of that creator, how they built their synths. You have to follow their thought process to a T. But with modular, you get to do whatever you want. You still have these same building blocks, but you can put the filter before the effects, or put the filter after the effects if you want, or, you know, just whatever it may be. So it just gives you an opportunity to explore things in a way that you couldn't do on a regular synthesizer.
Yeah. To Ali's point, the way I look at it, it's every single modular artist out there, they essentially have their own instrument that they've kind of crafted over the years. You know, it's your instrument, whether you know, repatch it on a daily basis or you leave it patched for 6 months to a year or whatever. It's an instrument, and I don't know, it's specific to what you are as an artist. And yeah, I think that's kind of the beauty of what this thing is.
Yeah.
It is. And the idea that any of us, we could literally have the same system and it's not going to sound the same.
Yeah, never.
It'll never sound the same.
Yeah. So, and I think that's I mean, that thought is really interesting when you think about designing a module, because it's not just about designing how you want something to sound, but it's designing a platform that someone can use their own way and make it, you know, work how within a system that might be much bigger than that. So that's why I'm super pumped. I mean, this module that you came out with through Modbap, it's awesome. It looks incredibly flexible. It definitely, you know, meets the brand of Modbap, and it looks incredible. So I'd love to hear from you a little bit. Well, actually, I think right now might be a good time. We have a cool set that you did. We're going to play a segment of it now, so we can kind of just get a taste of this thing, see what it's about, and then we can kind of dive into the design and how it came about and all that kind of stuff. So let's play some of the set.
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the Per4mer, how did it come about? Like how long you been working on this? Like tell us a little bit of the story of like where this came from and how it came to life.
I think I've always wanted to, definitely for not long after getting into modular, I wanted to make stuff. And I always mentioned that, you know, I have kind of had this duality that I live with, IT and technology and beats and music. You know what I mean? So for me, everything is about converging those two. And I think that's why I like modular so much, because there's a technical thing to it. And even when you first get started, you may not even understand everything that's going on. Hell, years after you get started, you may not understand every single thing that's going on in the land of happy.
That's for sure.
But the idea is, I think when it comes to producing hip hop, and Ali and I have talked about this kind of stuff before with the rest of the crew, is that, you know, you have to kind of, I think there's a matter of patching things in your rack or having other things that you end up patching to get to point B so that you can start patching what you want to patch. You know what I mean? Because in hip hop, you can see that the beats are some might call wonky, or it's more human, or it just kind of has a swing. There's some offbeat stuff like that in there. But for a lot of times when people are doing form of core music, it needs to be on grid. There's no off grid. You like a carton of sin. So, but for the type of hip hop that we like to do, we don't want to be on grid at all. We want to be on grid and almost drunken, sloppy.
Yeah.
Broken. And so there's so much there that can be explored. And so I think a lot of times we talk about like, yo, why doesn't this exist? Or why don't we have this? Or why does this not do that? And then I look up and I'm seeing Ali, and I remember we were at NAMM and we were in a company's booth, and I won't name which company's booth, but this is the prime example. Ali was like, yo, why doesn't that joint do this? And the guy wasn't quite getting it. And Ali was like, what do you mean it should do this? And the guy still wasn't quite getting it. I could see that. But that's a prime example of the kind of stuff I've consulted on stuff and given, you know, ideas. I've tested things and that kind of stuff. And a lot of us have, and provided these different ideas. Well, I just got to a point where it's like, you know what? I want to make what I want to make. So I had been sketching things and kind of keeping that. And so one day I actually tweeted out or shot something out on social media, yo, there should be a thing like this. And then I thought within seconds, like, what are you doing? And I went I deleted it all, and then I kind of decided, like, you know what, man, I'm gonna start making modules. And you know, long story just a slight bit longer, we went to Synthplex and we did a Modbap Synthplex panel, and there was a lot of dope things going on at that Synthplex panel. It was actually the first time I met Ali in person. We had already kind of been friendly online or whatever, and there was a lot of us there. You know, Aaron from Eurorack, there was Ali was there. Like the whole place was kind of packed for this particular thing. But there was a question that came up where somebody said, what are the tools? What are the things that you use? And I found it to be a little bothersome to have this list of things that still didn't quite get us there the way we knew we wanted to be there. So I knew I had to make stuff. And then incidentally, I went into work the next week, kind of in day job, and kind of on a high from all the dope stuff and dope people I had met. And Tuesday or Wednesday, they said, hey, you want to move to Kansas City? And I was like, nope, I don't want to move to Kansas City. It was like, cool, you got 90 days and a severance package. And I was like, damn, well, okay, I guess I'm gonna be making some modular. Right. You know what I mean? And what that ended up being was the seed money to be able to develop some of the ideas that I've been sketching up and coming up with. So it was like this whole, you know, things just start falling into place like that, man. And the core idea of this particular module of having effects, performance effects at your fingertips, just how I perform anyway. Ali and Shiro and all of the guys that do Modbat, we tend to perform a certain way with certain performance effects, whether that's the beat repeat, which I call glitch on here, whether that's delays and reverbs or whatever it might be, tape stops and all those things. That's very indicative to, this style of music and how we perform. And I wanted to do something a little better than that, but carry less gear out and put something in my rack where it wasn't just one performance effect at a time. Because most times if you're using other performance effects units, it's one performance effect at a time.
Yeah.
Ali and I was in the Modbap house at NAM. and I remember us practicing our sets that night that you mentioned.
Yep.
And practicing our sets like on the kitchen countertops and like talking about performance effects and all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of got to me like, we can only use one effect at a time, or we have to do some fancy macro programming, or you know what I mean? And
run the rig through the MPC, or just
through the MPC or the Force. You got to do whatever kind of macros, or either like way I perform is I have stuff to carry out. So I want to bring something like that into the rack that not only allows you one effect, but up to 4 effects, but then also color processing, so you can add static or wax vinyl sim, or you can add a compressor with ducking. Like, I wanted to be able to do all of that in a module, and so that's what I came up with.
Hey,
Awesome.
Corey.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. So I actually saw that Yaw Evans asked a similar question when I was watching the demo videos and the demonstration videos for the Per4mer on the Modbap Modular YouTube. I saw you using the SP404 in conjunction with your rack, right? And first thing that came to mind, I saw the 4 knobs on top of the SP404. I see the 4 knobs on top of the Per4mer. Is there did you get any influence from the SP404? I'm sure there was influence from all over the place, but specifically from the SP404 and kind of what they look like.
I mean, like I said, I perform with the SP404 and I perform with the Force. And there's some things that the Force has that the 404 doesn't, like tape stop. And there's, other stuff. And they all, listen, I've performed with all of the things. Whether it's the 404 with those effects, or whether it's the K-oscillator, the chord K-oscillator pad, that thing. And it has all of the effects of beat, repeat, and stuff like that. And then even in the Force and MPC, it has all that stuff, beat, repeat, and it adds tape stop and that stuff. So I think, along that line, I figured this was like, if you have that line of stuff that's in tabletop, I wanted to be able to have something similar in eurorack. And so all of those things sort of inspired me to a degree. And it really came down to, well, what do these things do that I would like to do what do these things not do that I would like to do in eurorack? So yeah, to a degree, SP404 inspired it, but then there probably was some inspiration from other devices that do similar things too. Sure. And being able to not have to take the 404 to K-oscillator pad out when I perform is a definite plus.
Right.
Got it.
So why don't you show us a little bit of the module and take us through it and kind of take us through kind of what it does, how it works. Let's see this thing in action.
Cool. Let's see. Let's switch the camera here. All right. So pardon if the camera's a little wobbly or whatever, but so here's the ultimate, the situation is this. You have delay, reverb, glitch or beat repeat, and tape stop. Each one of these knobs up top, if I'm engaging a delay, then you have 4 parameters that are specific to the delay. If I'm engaging reverb, you have 4 other parameters that are specific to reverb, so forth and so on for each one of them. But the cool thing about this is that you can momentarily engage by pressing a button, or you can latch by shift press. And notice because of the way the light is coming in, you can see that I have 2 effects engaged, but you can engage all of them. Now, it can get kind of crazy If you want to get about it, then yeah, you could do all of that. But typically what I end up doing and what I was doing in before that. So you have these 4 effects and those 4 parameters. Each of the 4 effects has its own 4 parameters that these knobs control when you're engaging that effect, right? Then you have color, and you have these 4 color presets, and there's these different colors, right? So the first one is purple, and that's a classic 12-bit, so the aliasing sound. The second one is a blue, and that's what we call lo-fi, and that's a 8-bit kind of bit crush sort of sound, but it's very musical. Then the next one is a orange or yellow, and that's saturation. And the last one is this blue, and that one is wax, or what some would call vinyl simulation, but I call it wax, and it introduces noise and warble and stuff like that. So you can only have one color preset on at a time, and you could toggle it on and off like so, right? Or you can toggle between them like this by holding down shift and going to the different presets, right? It also has a compressor. And the cool thing about the compressor is that you have this input here is sidechain. This input here is clock. So you can tap tempo, or you can throw clock in, or you can, you can also have another signal coming in that would be for sidechain or ducking. The cool thing about the compressor is that you can tell the module, hey, Per4mer, for the ducking and the sidechain, and I want you to only listen to the clock or the tap tempo. Or you can toggle it again and say, hey, Per4mer, I want you to only listen to the signal coming in for the ducking. Or you could tell it, Per4mer, actually listen to the sidechain signal that's coming into the sidechain input for the ducking. So that's a pretty unique thing there too. And so once you get past those things, the other thing that you have here is, let me just move this cable out of the way. So the other thing you have here are CV inputs. The top CV here, you have CV inputs, and that controls the 4 knobs. So if I have delay engaged or latched like so, and I put CV into the first one or whichever of those 4, then you're going to start to modulate the parameters for the delay. Similarly, you can, just like you can engage and disengage an effect like this, you can also throw a gate into the input and start to sequence effects. So like, for instance, you can do like a MIDI to CV module into your Groovebox and assign a MIDI track as like your I guess effects automation track. And then what you could do in the sequencer is send that signal out to the MIDI to CV module and have gates going into each of the 4 inputs, and each of these 4 inputs corresponds to one of the buttons. So input 1 is delay, input 2 is reverb, so forth and so on. So you could then actually sequence your effects and have that be the way that you perform it. But so that's in a nutshell, that's kind of the orientation of the module.
So how did you come about? Like I'm imagining, like, were you just drawing this on napkins and just like coming up with a design, or how did this, like, it's laid out beautifully, it's expressive, and you can play it, like you can't play, I mean, yeah, you can twist it, and actually Ali in one of our meetups made a really good point about, there's a lot of modules that are clones that make things smaller and stuff, and you don't always want that, because you want to be able to play with these things and have some fun with it and twist some knobs. This you can play with, this you can have some fun with. So like, how did you come about the design of this thing?
So yeah, this is maybe the 4th iteration of the design. 4th or 5th. And that's
not bad. That's less than I expected.
Yeah, it took some turns, and the name changed a couple times as well, but the concept was always the same. And then I was more concerned with, I initially started with a sketch in my notebook, and it was basically a sketch. I'm pretty good at Photoshop, and I'm okay with Illustrator. So then I went in and started, let's grab parts or make parts, for what this module, what I want it to be, and let's make sort of a mock-up. So then I went from sketching in a notebook. I have a little leather-bound notebook around here. I have like a stack of them. There's all kinds of stuff in them. But it went from the hand drawing to actually, you know what? So I don't have that on me. But it went from the hand drawing to actually mocking it up. And then at one point, all of the buttons were going, up and down, and then you'd have next to them the knob that they were, and the inputs, and it was a whole different sort of thing. And ultimately, I decided, you know what, I wanted like where your hands can easily get to them all at the same time. So I decided on this 2 up, 2 down sort of thing. And quite frankly, I was doing some work at my day job, and we were putting together these video walls where there were 4 screens on them, and it was 2 up, 2 down, right? So 4 50-inch screens for social media, to throw social media feeds up on these 50-inch screens and to make it like one big screen. And like that made sense to me. So that was part of like how I eventually kind of landed on this, the knobs being next to each other, the 2x2. And really from performing effects, part of the inspiration of the knobs being at the top is I was used to doing that by performing with either the or any of the performance effects that I was performing with, whether it was the Force of the 404 or the K-oscillator pad, and that just made sense. Now, some people have asked me like, "Yo, why did you put it like that? Why didn't you put the buttons at the bottom so that the cables would be out of the way?" And I don't know. Like I said, I tried all these different orientations, and this is the one that stuck. I think it became more important for me to have the knobs at the top and the buttons immediately following. And so when it comes to, obviously you can look at this until I have quite a bit plugged in here, and you're still able to get to these buttons without much, it all depends on how you patch it and where it sits in your system. But the reality is, it's eurorack, right? So a lot of times you're going to be reaching to, through, and around wires. But in this case, it's pretty clear with the top of the module being able to do it, because I'm usually standing over it, so it makes it a little easier.
That's super cool. And we actually have another question about like the design of it and stuff. Where are you producing these things? How's the manufacturing going?
They are produced in the U.S. And I'm based in California. They're produced in California, so I just a ride away from my developers, and you know what I mean. I could get down there and do different things. So we did quite a few meetings and a lot of back and forth with developers to kind of get it right. But yeah, they're U.S. made. Before we dive in
deeper, I want to remind everyone watching, we have lots of cool giveaways. There's a few more minutes left on maybe like 1 minute left on our giveaway for the Hosa modular accessory pack. So drop it in the comments. There's a link in the comments where you can enter to win. Lots of different ways to do it. Don't be shy. Just do it. It's free. It's awesome stuff. You can never have too many of these things for modular. So 2 minutes left, 2 minute countdown, enter to win. Someone's got to win. Might as well be you. So go for it. Get it done. And ask some questions. Whoever asks best questions are going to win some t-shirts. So again, we'd love to hear from you guys. But let's keep going. So the sounds, the effects, like, I'm sure that there was a process to coming up with making sure that these sounded right. Like you had something in your brain that you wanted this to be. How did you pick out the sounds, or how does that process work when you're designing a module? Like, I want it to sound like this, and how do you actually craft those sounds?
Well, for me, I took a big part of it came from how I perform. And if you've seen me perform, you see that I love to play the delay. Like I really, really love to play the delay. And that sounds crazy in itself, but for me, that was a key piece to it. But then every time I thought, like, I mean, from day one, it was supposed to be those effects: a beat repeat, a reverb, a delay, and a tape stop. It had to be those effects because that's what I use when I perform. So that was the basis of it. Now, let's see. So there's something about the reverb here. It's a Doppler reverb, right? And so I have this filter at the end where you can start to filter out if it gets too wild, because when you turn the feedback all the way up, it can get wild, and maybe you want to mangle things that way. And so the effect at the end, or the filter at the end, allows that to be controlled if you get too wild with it. So the big thing for me was really about, see how the Doppler effect happens when you change the time. So that was a huge thing for me, to be able to have that. I knew that I wanted that. It was, initially you kind of think like, I want a delay, I want a tape delay, a bucket brigade delay, or something that imitates that. But the reality of it was, when I look back at my performances, I'm like, nah, I don't want that. I want a Doppler delay.
It doesn't slide like a regular delay. It doesn't like pitch up and down. It's like it's like a more like you calling it a Doppler.
Yeah.
Usually when you turn the delay, you'll hear some type of like pitch artifacts, but this one just like pops it. Like, I don't know. It's like bing, bing, bing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost feel that, like, obviously it has many applications, but with the delay, with the reverb, kind of with everything mixed in, it's a transitional module, in that you could transition from this sound to that sound, but it can also like add an ambiance or ambience to whatever sound you have going through, or whatever sounds you have going through it.
Yeah, you could definitely create like those, like lots of soundscapes. I mean, just listen to. I'm turn the sound back up one more time, and then I'm just going to slowly apply different things, like the reverb, like the delay, dial in and throw in the wax for the vinyl crackle and that kind of stuff. And you'll see how it starts to transform this into an atmosphere, almost, right? So. Now that's just the reverb and the delay line, and because the delay is the last effect I've touched, the knobs are corresponding to the delay. So then I can play the delay a little bit. Then we can start to throw the glitch and the beat repeat in there. You can pitch it up and down. Smaller loops, longer loops, reverse. Right, and you just start to transform these things, and now we'll add the wax simulation, the color processing. And all of a sudden, it's like you're listening to a record from the soundscape you created. And that's the compressor on. Now what we have, it's listening to the sidechain input. So that's the ducking that you're hearing. Now it's listening to the clock. So the blinking, it's slightly ducking with the clock, but you can really make it pump, right? Then you obviously have your tape stops. And that has a filter at the end. So a lot of times when I'm using this, I'm actually using the top part just on, right? So I have reverb and delay just on the signal, and then I'll be performing with the bottom part of the unit. So
We got a couple great questions that came in while you were going through it. Our man Evan wants to know, do you always run the entire signal pass through the module, or do you sometimes use it as an effect module on certain sounds? How are you using it?
So the way I'm using it and the way I plan to use it is like actually several different ways. The way I'm using it right here, this is at the end of the chain of the modular, the eurorack modules. So I have, to that side of this, it has
one voice kind of, right?
Just one voice. So there's a oscillator, then a filter, then the effects. And so then I'm going out to, a mixer. And then the beat that I would play is coming from the force right beneath this, right? And then so it just kind of gives you something to sweeten up the melodic portions of it, right? But I have used it in a small pod by itself and use it much like a K oscillator pad or 404, where I'm running the signal out of the groove box into this, and it's just fine. So what I plan to do is to have one of these as my effects unit in my rack, and also have one in a more controlled sort of situation with like a tetrapad and a joystick or something, or even a crossfader module or something. And then I'll have that sitting on the side to be able to use for the beats part of it. So it's very flexible. You could use it any number of ways. But right now I'm just kind of using it at the end of my melodic Eurorack signal pad.
Alex, another local modular musician, was asking, so do the effects stack in a certain order? Or do they stack in the order that you toggle them?
There is a specific signal path, and there's a reason behind that. And I kind of went back and forth about that too. Every little thing has been meticulously thought out. So ultimately, ultimately you have processor effects, and you have the processor effects are the compressor and the color processor. Then you have the performance effects, which are the 4 performance effects that have arcades associated to them. So it goes in order of signal going in, then the processing effects hit them. So signal going in, color processor, compressor. Then after the processing effects, those 2 effects, it goes through the performance effects and out. And it is too the way this is laid out. It is delay, reverb, tape stop, or glitch and tape stop. And then
awesome.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Because you want your glitch after your delay and your reverb, and your tape stop after your glitch, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Or else you'll be blurring the things that are supposed to interrupt the sound.
Right.
You know what I mean? Your glitch and your tape stop are always kind of disruptive, and that's designed to be that way. But if you put the reverb after it, I guess you can get some cool sounds and stuff like that, and delay after it, you get some cool sounds. But for the effect that we're typically trying to go through, is that's at the end of the chain.
Yeah, for hip hop, like
Mm-hmm.
Question: so if you hit the glitch button and then hit the tape stop, you're gonna hit a glitch and the tape stop happen at the same kind of time?
Yep.
That's awesome.
So, and also, you know what? I can't wait to get one of these in your hand, Ali. I want to tell everybody while we're on here that I have Ali was all set up as a beta tester, and he still is gonna get this in his hands. But I got to tell you, the first time around, you learn a lot about how many prototypes you might have and how many prototypes you might not have. Stuff like that. But yeah, this is one of those things, but I can't wait till you get it in your hands, Ali, because I know that you and I use performance effects very similarly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, and
you said when we were in the kitchen and we were having that talk, man, it's just, you know, it makes sense. It just totally makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt.
The way things are laid out, the way it's put together, you know. And at first, when you first showed me this thing months back, I was thinking, you know, kind of how you said, like, why wasn't it flipped upside down? But really, if you want to, you could just flip it upside down if it makes that way in your case. But I think I like the way it is here because, like you're saying, when you're reaching down, you have that clear spot right there, and it's just there. It looks, yeah. I really like the way that you ended up laying everything out. It looks really good. It looks clean. Yeah, man.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do too. So just some kind of, I wanted a very clean interface and a simplified interface. Now this thing can get deep because what you're working with is these 4 effects have 4 parameters each, so that's 16 tweakable parameters.
Mm-hmm.
But in a 14 HP with 4 knobs. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I got one question for you, right? So you have CV going into your inputs.
Yep.
And all right, for instance, you're performing live, and you're just instantaneously hitting the buttons for the effects when you want them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so every time you hit the button, the CV is controlling that effect at that time that you hit the button, right?
Yeah. At that time when you hit the button,
so you hit the delay, and the CV is controlling the delay effects.
Well, there's something that I implemented called CV targeting.
Okay.
Because it can get crazy if you want it to be crazy. Like if you have CV going in there, it can dictate to all 4 effects that these parameters that are being CV'd. Like for instance, the first knob on all the effects is wet dry. So if I put CV into CV1 here, then wet dry is going to be modulated for all the effects. And that goes for all of the knobs, right? So that can be creative and fun if that's what you want it to be. But at the same time, if that's not what you're looking for, that could be problematic, right? So what I did is we implemented where you hold down this button, now you're in a page.
Super cool.
So this page, you can turn off glitch, turn off tape stop, and turn off reverb, or leave on whichever ones you want the CV to affect.
Okay, cool.
Now, since only delay is lit up, your CV is only going to affect the 4 parameters of delay. You let that go, you're back to the regular way it performs. And so now you could throw CV in there, and it's only affecting the delay parameters.
Right. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Got another question from Mr. Gorgon's asking about the audio routing. Can the stereo I/O be used as 2 separate monos? Like, does left route to left and right route to right? Or if you put in a mono signal, is it going to be stereo? How does the audio side of it work?
The left, if you throw something in left, it's going to come out stereo. But actually, I haven't really tried to do 2 separate signals going in there, but it still come out stereo. It's not this. There's left.
It's not
and right.
2 independent paths. It's one experience, one space.
Yeah, but you can easily throw a mono signal in there, and I actually think Shiro does it a lot, where he's throwing maybe a eurorack voice into left and the digitone into right, and it just comes out blended stereo out of the end. So it's flexible in that way, but it's not like 2 separate, you know.
Corey, I just have to say I appreciate you making the module stereo, period. I think, you know, seeing new modules that have been coming out, like the QPOS, like the Mimeophone, and various other ones, everything's kind of heading in a stereo direction. And like in my case, I'm finding that, you know, the stereo voices, I have a filter that's not stereo, and it's like, oh, what do I do with that?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm happy that modular is heading in that particular direction, you know, making stereo capabilities and just amping up the quality of sound. I think stereo amps up the quality of sound. So.
Yeah, I think when I came in when I came into modular, it was kind of, I was in the stereo world before, so I wanted to kind of replicate that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I see what you're saying. I think the stereo is the way to go. I mean, for some voices, you just need mono, but when you need stereo, you need stereo.
Yeah. And I think with an effect unit like this, I wanted it to be stereo. And also, I knew that I was going to want to run groove boxes through it. You know what I mean? At the same time. So I wanted it to be kind of dual purpose in that sense, where you could throw it in a small pod and run groove boxes through it, or you could put it in a rack and, use it as a stereo effect unit.
I have a question, Corey, just from an aesthetics perspective. I'm a very aesthetic person when it comes to my case and just modules in general. The arcade buttons, do they change color? Like I can't really see what
they do not. They're just white.
Okay, sweet.
So like I said, the initial designs that I had, this thing looked crazy, man. I was going to initially call it Connect 4, but I feared getting sued by Hasbro or whoever the hell it is that makes Connect 4. So at that point, I had different color buttons because the idea was to be able to have color-coded effects. And that when I mocked it up, it didn't look as great as the idea was. So I decided to go with just, translucent white clear buttons with a white LED in them.
Beautiful. I mean, I read a little bit about the module, and I like that you left out the click of the arcade buttons. I think that can kind of, I don't know if that interferes in the signal path, but I'm sure leaving that out was intentional by design.
Yeah, it was, because I don't really like the click. I was thinking of it in terms of, okay, if these were MPC pads or any other kind of pads, we don't have clicks with those. Yeah. Now, mind you, if you're tapping it, you're obviously going to hear it. If you're tapping it hard, you're going to hear it, but that's not a click of the pressing.
Right.
You press it in, it's smooth. There's nothing there. And it feels a little more playable because of that too. It's a nice feel. Like, this is something special. And the buttons are rated for like 10 million presses, which, where
should be enough.
Yeah, that should be definitely enough, right? So, yeah,
enough baps there.
Mark was asking if there's panning capabilities in the unit.
No, there's no panning capabilities in it.
And I was wondering, you mentioned firmware. Are you able to update the firmware?
Yes. And so there may be additional features in the future. I'm interested to see what questions will come up. Like, that's the first time I've gotten the question of, does it have panning in the module? You never know. Once it's out there, maybe, a few months in, maybe there'll be an update to add a couple things. I do have a couple ideas and some stuff that I'd like to do, but happily we are at, the shipping firmware at this point, and finally got to 1.0, and it was a long road to get here. So
what's the team like? What's the Modbap like? The actual, the team behind the module, like, who, how many people have been behind this thing?
So I have a good deal of testers, but ultimately it's myself as the designer and kind of like wish list dude, and here's my mock-ups, and it needs to have this kind of routing and all that kind of stuff. So as the designer, there's me, but then I have a dev and DSP guy that I work with to kind of make these ideas come to life. Beyond that, then there's my testers. So I have probably more testers that I need, but it was important for me to have beta testers that had a range across different genres. And, so there's, if you go to the site, actually, for anybody who wants to see who they all are, you could go to modbap.com, go to About Us, and there'll be two options there. One of them is beta testers. So you can actually look at who the people are who've had input and finding bugs and different things. A couple of people up there haven't yet gotten modules, but they will, and the thing will be the same, right? Like if you find something that's weird or doesn't quite sit right, then, let's explore probably getting that into the firmware. So ultimately it's me as a designer, and I have a developer, and then I have my testers, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to come out the gate with distribution through Electro Distro, so that we have availability in all the stores across the world internationally. So
they're a great group to work with. We love dealing with them. They deal with a bunch of great brands. So you are absolutely in good hands with them for sure. This is awesome. What's next for Modbat Modular? I mean, I know that this is like the first release, and we got to get through the first module. But are you kind of thinking about other products or other gear that's going to come out down the road?
Yeah, actually, like I said, I had a whole notebook full. I have a whole, bunch of them mocked up. And my goal is to get to a system. So that's what I want to be able to do, and maybe have some pretty cool collaborations along the way. And it's looking good, man. It's going to be fun.
That's going to be awesome.
Of having these, like, I already know what my next handful of modules are going to be. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Love it. I think that's also what's like super cool about modular, is that it's not as substantial as building something like a matrix boot or something like behind you, or a mono. Like, you can have an idea. It can be just a simple idea, a compact thing, an effects module, or a simple sound that you want to do, and it can exist and breathe in a larger system. So you don't need it, to come out with a monster synth takes a monstrous level team and manufacturing, and you can come out with these cool little ideas and just blast them out, and coming up with collaborations. I mean, this is a format that allows for performers and artists to create things that their brain is like, I need this, and I can make it happen.
Yeah, certainly, man. It's kind of like this little microcosm of creativity and technology that you can really throw yourself into and come up with something really dope. And so somebody asked me before, like, yo, if you had to create like a groove box or some sort of system, what would it be like? And honestly, this entire Modbap Modular line of products that I'm developing is kind of like me moving towards that idea of being able to have this one system where I'm micro focusing on this thing. Okay, the filter I would like to be like this, and the effects I would like to be like this, and so when it's all said and done, it should be a really fun line of things that maybe specific to maybe performing beat makers and stuff like that, but I think it'll be useful across the board.
It's going to NAMM and being kind of like that, the modular area that has grown over the years, is super cool, because you get to, it's not like going to one of the other booths and there's a designer and it's too big of a company to kind of get access to the people that actually, like, I wanted to make this thing for me, and I feel like other people are going to want to do that too. And in a lot of these brands, like WMD or SSF or Make Noise, like the guys or girls are right there. I made this module because I thought this was going to be super cool, and I hope you guys think so too. And that's what's really cool about modular as a format and as a musical exploration genre. That just think it's inspiring and super cool, and
for sure,
it's just great to be a part of it.
Yep, without a doubt.
Well, I think without further ado, we should just like give some stuff away. I think it's time. We've gotten some great questions. We've gotten some great submissions. So first off, let's give away some t-shirts. So guys behind the scenes, let's give away who are our Modbap t-shirt winners. Who we got? Let's see. We got Mark Darrow. Congratulations, Mark. And let's pick another one for Modbap t-shirt. Wes Curry. Congratulations, guys. Hit us up at live@chucklevins.com. Or you can message us on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll get those t-shirts coming your way. We'll get with Corey and get those coming your way. Let's pick 2 more people to win Chuck Levin's t-shirts. So guys back there, let's pick 2 more. Autograph, awesome. And let's pick 1 more. Mr. Gorgon, awesome. Great questions, guys. We appreciate all of you chiming in and just dropping some knowledge and being a part of this with us, being live with us. And I think without further ado, let's pick out let's announce our Hosa accessory pack winner. Griselda, congratulations. Thank you so much for being a part of it and entering the contest. We will reach out to you. We have your email, so we'll reach out to you after the stream and get that pack coming your way. Guys, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Corry, congratulations on a phenomenal module. I cannot wait to get this thing in our modular section here at the store. Mess with it myself. I'm sure both these guys will be here too, checking it out and diving in. We'll probably have to catch some video of both of them messing with it here. That would be awesome to do. Looking forward to a lot more from Modbap Modular.
Yeah, no doubt, man. There's a lot more to come. I appreciate you having me on and, showing interest in the product, just supporting what I'm doing. And also, I appreciate you carrying the product in your store. So, that support means the world. I really appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
I was super pumped to see that you were coming out with something at all. And it looks like a home run. Like, it really does look super expressive, and I know that like the three of us would all use it completely different ways. And I can't wait to see what everyone else does with it. It looks great, and looking forward to much more success with it.
No doubt. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Cool. Guys, thanks a lot. Thanks everybody for being here. I think we're gonna, if we have it, I think we have a little more of that set that we're gonna play out, and we'll just jam out a little bit more, and we'll see everyone next week for another Chuck Levin's Live. Yep. Guys, Craig, Ali, I appreciate you guys both being here with me and talking modular and diving into this. And again, Corry, really appreciate it. Love what you do. Love everything that you've done so far, and looking forward to a lot more.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Good seeing you guys.
All right, man.